You know, it's wild how, in our connected world, a single day can feel like a lifetime. Events that happen thousands of miles apart can send ripples across the globe, affecting everything from our security to the price of gas. We're about to break down one incredibly volatile 24-hour period into the 5 key global stories that really defined it.
So, here's what's on our radar. We're going to start with the escalating war in West Asia and its very real human cost. Then, we'll look at a truly historic power shift happening inside Iran. From there, we'll see how the economic fallout slammed markets all over the world, then pivot to a totally new kind of warfare in Haiti, and finally, see how all these tensions boiled over right onto the streets of New York City. First up, the conflict in West Asia.
All right, let's dive in. Our first story kicks off with Operation Epic Fury. This military campaign has just entered a brand new, high-intensity phase, and that comes with a steep, and I mean very real, cost.
It all starts with a single number, 7. That's how many American service members U.S. Central Command has confirmed have been killed in action. This is the first really significant wave of American combat fatalities since these large-scale strikes began. And of course, these aren't just numbers. These are people. Most of them were Army reservists with the 103rd Sustainment Command, based out of Des Moines, Iowa. They were killed when a drone hit their operations center in Kuwait. And you can see, they came from towns all across the American Midwest, from West Des Moines to White Bear Lake, Minnesota. Their remains were brought home in a dignified transfer ceremony at Dover Air Force Base.
And the human cost, well, it extends far, far beyond U.S. forces. The impact across the entire region has been absolutely devastating. Iranian state media is reporting over 1,200 deaths inside its borders. In Lebanon, the health ministry has counted hundreds killed and more than 1,000 injured. And in Israel, about a dozen people have lost their lives in retaliatory attacks.
Beyond the heartbreaking human toll, the financial cost is just staggering. The Pentagon estimates that in just the first 2 days of strikes, the U.S. used $5.6 billion worth of advanced munitions. That figure alone tells you everything you need to know about the sheer intensity of this fight.
Okay, so while this war was raging, a political earthquake was shaking the foundations of Iran, completely reshaping the country's leadership, all happening under the shadow of war.
Here's the headline. Following the death of the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, his own son, Mojtaba Khamenei, was named as his successor. This is a monumental shift. It basically establishes a dynasty, a hereditary line of succession, for the first time since the Islamic Republic was founded.
So, who is this new supreme leader? Well, he's a combat veteran from the Iran-Iraq War, part of the powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. He's been under U.S. sanctions since 2019, and he has incredibly deep ties to Iran's military and security services. For years, he was this quiet, powerful figure, really pulling strings behind the scenes.
But the way he got the job? Yeah, that's a whole other story. It was highly unusual. The group that chooses the leader, the Assembly of Experts, had to meet in an emergency online session because of the airstrikes. There are reports that the Revolutionary Guard Corps basically pressured them to hurry up and make a decision, giving almost no time to anyone who might have opposed it. And get this, he was only a mid-level cleric, but right away, state media started calling him Ayatollah. Most analysts see that as a clear PR move to quickly beef up his religious credibility.
You know, a war on this scale never happens in a vacuum. The conflict in West Asia sent immediate and severe shockwaves ripping through the global economy. And you can see the impact everywhere, from oil prices to factory floors in Europe.
Just look at this roller coaster. This is what pure volatility in the energy markets looks like. The fear was that the war would shut down the Strait of Hormuz, which is a critical choke point for global oil, and that fear alone caused prices to spike more than 20%. Brent crude shot past $114 a barrel. Now, it did drop back down after some statements suggested the war could end soon, but that instability, you can still feel it.
And that panic in the energy sector, it spilled over into financial markets almost instantly. In Japan, the Nikkei stock average had its third biggest single-day point drop in its entire history. It lost over 2,800 points, driven directly by worries over what skyrocketing energy costs would do to global trade.
And this isn't just about numbers on a screen. This uncertainty hits real companies and real jobs. Listen to this stark warning that came from Germany's Volkswagen Group. The company said its operating profit was cut by more than a half, and because of that, they're now planning to cut 50,000 jobs. They pointed to a few different factors, but the economic shock from the war was a major accelerant.
All right, we're going to pivot now to a very different kind of conflict, one that's been highlighted in a new and pretty disturbing report from Human Rights Watch on the use of drone warfare in Haiti.
The top-line number from the report is just staggering: 1,243. That's how many people were reportedly killed in 141 separate drone strikes in just 11 months. Now, the Haitian government says these strikes are necessary to fight gangs, but this report, it paints a really grim picture of the human consequences.
One of the key findings is the high civilian death toll. The report documents at least 60 non-combatant deaths, and 17 of them were children. We're talking about strikes using quadcopter drones rigged with explosives, often targeting people in super densely packed neighborhoods. In one absolutely tragic incident, a strike hit a gift distribution event, killing 9 people, including 3 kids.
And the report adds another layer to this. These drone operations are allegedly being supported by a private military company called Vectis Global, which is linked to Eric Prince. The UN has already raised major concerns, suggesting that the force being used is disproportionate and might even be violating international law.
For our final story, we bring the narrative right back here to the United States. It's a chilling example of how international conflicts can inspire and fuel threats right here at home. Federal prosecutors have just unsealed charges in a foiled bomb plot in New York City. The material they were allegedly using was TATP. It's an extremely volatile and unstable homemade explosive. In fact, it's so sensitive that it's often nicknamed the mother of Satan. The suspects, 2 men from Pennsylvania, allegedly built improvised bombs using this chemical compound. They packed jars with the explosive and shrapnel, things like bolts and screws. And their alleged target? An anti-Islam demonstration happening right outside the mayor's residence.
Thankfully, the device failed to detonate, but the charges filed against them are incredibly serious. We're talking attempting to provide material support to ISIS, use of a weapon of mass destruction. These charges confirm that federal authorities are treating this as an act of terrorism, plain and simple.
So let's just step back and think about what we've seen in just one 24-hour span. A massive state-on-state war, a dynastic succession in Iran, global market chaos, a privatized drone war, and a terror plot foiled in a major American city. It all really boils down to one critical question: just how fragile is this global system that we all depend on?